Ms. Joan, do I have a quorum?
Yes, you do.
All right. Being that it's a quorum, I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:03 January 11th, and this is a committee of the whole meeting. This is 2021. The first order of business is to approve the minutes of December 7th, the committee of the whole special meeting minutes. December 7th, 2020. Do I have a motion for that? Rosemary, I have a motion.
I make a motion to approve that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Lee, did I see that you seconded? Okay, you're on mute, but I'm taking that as a yes. Is there any discussion on those meeting minutes? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the committee of the whole special meeting minutes of December 7th, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstain. That motion has carried. All right. We are trying to have most of these meetings up until February 28th to be, hi Rita, to have it mostly work on the budget, but there are some items that we are trying to sort of fit in. Specifically this one that's coming up. And so Susan, in your absence, I've already welcomed Amy and Jessica. I don't know where she went on my
They're both there on the Hollywood Squares.
Yes. You just moved around on me. The reason, just for those of you who weren't here, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, we had talked about this about a year ago, probably even longer.
Yeah, 2 or 3, yeah.
And but we are wanting it back, but we wanted to have Amy and Jessica to kind of come in and kind of talk about that along with Susan to kind of give a background because I believe that we're going to bring this to a full vote at our next board meeting. And so we wanted to kind of have the discussion so you guys knew about it. And that also if you had any questions or what have you, it could go back to Susan so that we can get answers to those questions. So did I
Yeah, great segue. And I can just say we had this sense of urgency because this proposal for One Card, One Community will give our students greater access to books both in print and digitally by being able to use their student ID for access to the public libraries. We also have brought it to the Board of Ed Curriculum Committee several times and really weighed this out because we had some concerns around Student Privacy Act. So Dennis has been very involved in this and has really done some legwork in making sure and ensuring that student privacy will be handled and that we still will ask parents permission to give authorized permission for this to happen, just as if they were going to the library to get the library card. And it doesn't mean that kids won't have a library card, but often, like Jessa says, they forget it. So if they have their student ID number, which most of them have memorized, they'll just be able to give that. And if they're online, they'll always have that. So it's really for access. And right now with remote learning as it is, we've been working on this all year. So we really feel it's time that we move this forward. So that's just my introduction. And Amy and Jessa, you can speak a little bit to this initiative and then the Overdrive initiative in its fullness.
Sure. Thank you, Susan. I'm going to start Jessica and I off just by doing a quick little screen share. The two of us did prepare a very short slideshow. I promise it's only 4 slides, including the title. And I want you to think about the following question. What makes a lifelong learner? What makes a lifelong reader? Well, in the digital age, it's all about access, just as Ms. Austin said. So I just want to share our goals for One Card, One Community. First, we want to increase our partnership and collaboration between Groton Public Schools and all 3 Groton libraries. A lot of you know that every spring we meet about our summer learning initiative. We kind of see this as a great extension of that. The more we can increase our partnership with the library, the better. A lot of you know that we already work with them quite a bit on One Book, One Region. So One Card, One Community is just another way we can continue to work with our library partners to make really, reading much more a part of our students' lives. We also want to increase student access to public library materials and digital resources. As you know, students have a sort of inundation of what they can get online. We want to make sure that they're getting quality stuff, and one of the ways to do that is to work through the library. And lastly, this will allow students to use their ID numbers as their public library cards. Most of you know that the student ID number is used for various reasons, including their lunch, their cafeteria lunch number. It's used for PowerSchool, it's used for other logins. So really, this is a number that is near and dear to the students. It's one that they'll never forget. So another thing for access is to give the students a number that they're very familiar with so that they can always use it for the public library. Jessa is going to share our next 2 slides with you. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
All right. Hi, everyone. So we're currently working on a 3-phase plan. The first being getting the students access to our digital materials. We pay for a service called Overdrive, and the school has recently adopted Sora. They're actually the same company, and we're working on a public library connect where we merge catalogs. So students, regardless of their ID number or library card access, will be able to access both. Transitioning out of phase 1, we're wanting to move into phase 2 of this project, which is to establish a system to give every student a public library card. Now, we've tried it the traditional way where they apply for the physical card. We put it out for all of the middle school and high school to do, and we had maybe a 10% student return on that. We think it'd be far more effective to turn those student ID numbers into library cards. It's a program that has already been implemented in the state of Connecticut, as well as nationwide. So we do have different people we can talk to for implementation procedures, as well as best practices. And we want to pilot the program at Fitch and then trickle down to the middle and then eventually the elementary schools. Once we've completed phase 2, phase 3 is limitless. We can have a loan, interlibrary loan between the schools and the public library, facilitate delivery so that students don't have to come to us to get their books. They'll be able to pick them up right at the school. And we can expand our partnerships on collection development and summer reading and other major events in the students and the school's calendar year. The only information we're going to need from the students or from the school ultimately is their first and last name, their student ID number, their home address, their phone, and their email. And so this information would be valid for 1 year, September to September. We want to make sure they have that access during the summer to prevent the summer slide. And then in the next school year, there would be a new upload of information. That way we can weed out anybody who's graduated and then welcome any new students to the district. So
it would only be given out with permission from the parents.
Absolutely, yes. So this is all that we would need. It's very directory-based information, very simple, basic stuff.
We did talk about how libraries have a history of great trust in a community with that private information. It's the same information that you go to the library with when they give you a library card, but they give you a number that they have instead of you giving them your student ID number. So that's really the biggest difference. And it's really a way to get kids their own library card and their access to the library. And it does connect with this software that we had purchased through the CARES Act called Sora that really does it. Amy was very excited about it because all of the classics come for free and there's multiple copies. So kids can be in reading groups and you can have multiple copies, which usually we go out and we have to buy them. And this way it's kind of on loan and they get recycled through different groups so that we can have those multiple copies at once, or copies for their individual independent reading too. So.
Kim?
Yes, please. I was just taking notes.
I'm very happy to hear about the parental permission. I just wonder about the mechanism for obtaining the parental permission. How will that be done?
So we probably will have to, through PowerSchool, generate some kind of a sign off and then put it on PowerSchool so that when we upload the PowerSchool information or download the PowerSchool information just in those categories, we can get it safely to the library.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lee.
I just want to say that I was at the first meeting when this was brought up, when we were actually not on Zoom, and I was excited then and I'm excited now. Thank you.
Me too. So we can bring this up for a vote then, Kim, at the end of this month?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's great. I also think that in our conversations that we have coming up with our town council and RTM, it's going to be great to be able to mention that this is a partnership and that ultimately it actually impacts our budget nicely because we'll have access to books that we might have had to buy, but
Right.
now can use through the public library system. And the fact that we are encouraging our students to be members of our community and members of our public library, I think it's great. Do we have other questions that we need to have answered or sought after so that when we do this vote, that we actually are doing that with, that we have all the information that we need? Liz?
This isn't a question, it's just a comment. I want to also emphasize that this gives our kids greater access for research materials.
Yes.
And that is extremely important because you know, any of our students that are doing any type of research, whether they're college prep, they're IB, AP, people who are involved in Connecticut History Day, you know, these are the types of things, any type that we will give them equal footing with kids around the nation. And it's really important that we encourage these skills. So I just wanted to add those 2 cents.
Thank you, Liz.
Kim, I have a question.
Yes,
And
and
it's for the librarians. Will this give us access to statewide libraries?
So the public library card will give you access to our collection and then our sister library's collection. We can do interlibrary loan from any library in the state, but the actual Connecticut State Library has a separate card and separate resources. So they would be gaining access to anything through the 3 Groton libraries, Groton Public Library, Bill Memorial Library, and Mystic-and-Nowink, Connecticut, Mystic-and-Nowink Library. Through that, we do have some partnership with the state. There's an app called Simply E where the state's ebooks and the public library ebooks are combined into one database. And so with your library card, you'll be able to access state materials that way. But to actually use State of Connecticut library, state of Connecticut's library resources, you do need to mail in and request a library card specific to them.
But you, with their connection with our sister libraries here in town, if the students had that need, or maybe that could even be something that we help them understand, especially at the high school level, they may opt to do that, where before, if they hadn't had that connection at all, they would have never known.
I think I may have used the wrong terminology. I was looking at inter-district loan. Did you say that? Yes, you can do that.
Yes, yes.
That was my real question. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we can do interlibrary loan.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? Liz, you are muted.
I just want to ask a question. Do we still have at the Fitch Library, like if you go onto their library site, do we still have like icon and those types of things where you go onto different databases and are able to access different articles and some stuff of that nature? Is that still there, Amy?
Yes, it's still there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I think I said Jane.
Jane, or were you just waving? And you get, if you would like to talk, please unmute.
What's exciting to me is the fact that when we have kids do this, we're helping them to become independent and curious learners themselves. That's huge as they move towards college and later on in life. It's very, very important.
All right, if I'm not hearing any more questions or statements, I'm going to move us on to our budget part of our committee of the whole, because we certainly know how to have fun. Jess, it was good to see your face. Amy, thank you again
Thank
for
you
coming.
very much.
Dennis, thank you for being here and to help with the possibility of having any questions about privacy. I know that you were part of that process. Yes. I wanted to make sure that I recognized you.
He was a big part of it. We thank him.
Oh, I'm glad that you gave me the thumbs up. That's good. All right. So I am now going to take a deep breath and go, wow, this is our first this is our first time that we're going to be really going through the budget, because we were able to pass our budget on the 28th of February before we all went into lockdown. So this is going to be a process in itself. I'm assuming everyone received the budget book. Is that correct? Okay. And did everyone receive the supplemental information that Susan sent, Dennis and Susan sent to us?
What is that?
So there was an email this sent out this morning.
I didn't see it this morning. Let me go check.
It's called the reconciliation payroll,
Hang on.
but we're gonna review it, but it was in your email.
All right. I did not see it this morning, but I will go back and check.
Well, we're gonna review it today, but it came up, Lori and Ken and I met. We've met us several times, but this morning again, just to review the process. And we really felt like it was important to orient you again to the budget book itself and kind of review the table of contents and what we hope to accomplish. And then we really wanted to then take you to what we call a supplemental object code, which on the left-hand side, and Ken's going to orient us even further on this, but on the left-hand side of the budget book in the pocket, there is some information about our dates that we're getting together. And there's this supplemental form that has the yellow highlights and has comments that you all had we had done that last year together, and you really liked the comments because it helped orient us why things went up or why things went down. So we're gonna do that again. And then as we were discussing it, I kind of said, well, what does the staffing look like? Do we have, I know we've been keeping track of the contracts and the payroll from last year to this year, and with the closing of the 3 schools to 2. So of course, Ken pops up with, oh, I have this document called reconciliation of payroll, and it's all here. So that's why I said, wonderful. I wish I had had that last week, but we'll send it out to the board today. And if you didn't get a copy, Liz or anybody, I can resend it to you and you'll have it. So you can just put it in that little pocket. So with that being said, I'm gonna let Ken take over, but those are kind of the 3 objectives. And as part of going through this, we're gonna really focus in on the function codes behind the pink tab.
Pink tab, yeah, very last one.
So before Ken orientates us, that's the word. Do people have questions or comments or thoughts before we go in? I just wanted to make sure.
I had a quick question. Ken, on the budget calendar, it was all very nice and chronological, except for one part. This was a mistake? Is it December 1 to 18th? Is the superintendent and administrators review and discuss, or is it supposed to be November?
I believe that is December 1. You're right, that is out of order.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was December. Thank you.
You're right. So should we switch?
Good catch.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Shall I move ahead, Kim, or?
Yeah, Ken. And I'm also very sad that I have to provide my own ruler.
Ruler. I wish I could provide you the rulers.
We'll send them in your next board packet, just let us know.
You should have done that.
I know.
Okay, so I'm gonna share some screens, and I know that it puts everyone to one side, but between talking about each section, we'll come back to this so that we can see each other and you can do what you need to do. But I'm going to share first. Let's see. Why is this not easy?
Oh, do I need? Who needs to?
Nope, I got it.
Okay.
All right. So here is the budget book. It's very blown up. Here we go. So that's the first page. And so I just wanted to start with the table of contents. So this is set up in the exact same format as prior years, the past 2 or 3 years. The first section, the yellow section, is a very high level. That information you don't have at this point. I'm still waiting for a couple of numbers. So when that comes to me, I will, this will get out to you and we can put them into the books. But this is a high level look at the budget, some highlights, there's some graphs, there's a look at revenue and grants and some history. So once those are completed, those will go out to you. I would hope that that's relatively soon. The next section, the red tab, which is filled in, this is the budget summary. And this is just it starts at a high level once again, and it continues to go down to deeper and deeper level. The first page being a very, very high level this year versus last year budget. The next pages is the object code. That's pages 2-2 to 2-5 or 6, I believe. And it's the one that we look at on a monthly basis. And then the final page is our school site budgets. I don't know if you looked at it yet, and we can look at it in a second. But it does look a little different because the number of schools changed, and so we had to reformat it a little bit differently. But just to stay on the table of contents for a second, the white tab is the enrollment. So currently that's the enrollment that we calculated. We still have Malone and McBroom who are doing a more in-depth view of enrollment and going street by street and putting kids into the right schools. So once we have that information, we'll update this section, but what's in there right now was our first attempt at it. The green tab, this is goes over our FTEs, just a number of full-time employees in the district. There was a problem with that one, so that one did not get included in the book. That problem will be corrected, and that'll go out to you shortly. And then the pink tab is the one we're going to go over in detail, and this highlights all the same information that we've talked about in the white and the red tabs, but it just breaks it down into function levels, such as elementary and art, and it goes from there. And that's the big section. That's the one that takes the most time. And then, as Susan mentioned, there are a couple of items that were placed in the front pocket, and it's the calendar, of the full calendar from when we started this process back in October to when it ends this coming May. And then there is another one, which we call the budget development schedule, which is kind of just how we're going to go through all the different sections during these budget workshops, and it gives a little more detail on how that's going to be gone through. And then we included an object code worksheet. So this is a kind of like an internal worksheet that we look at that we wanted to make sure you guys saw as well, because we kind of we make it a little bit bigger so we can see it, and we put comments on the right-hand side to kind of explain why these numbers are moving in the way they're moving. So that's kind of an orientation of the book. I do want to just go down here and just, do you want to stop here, Kim, or?
I'm gonna be Are there people who have, okay, I can now see the group. Do I have anyone who's got, from the board have questions so far? Liz, I know this is your first go around. It's going to be, it's really confusing. Just sort of absorb it. Rita?
My second, Kim.
Okay.
The little sheet that we were sent today.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
I had a question about that.
Why don't I bring it up so we can talk about it?
Okay.
Well, actually, can we hold on that just for 1 second? Because
yeah, no problem.
And then go to that.
Sure.
Okay.
I think, Ken, one of the things we thought was that we can go through that summary that orients us back to where we left off. And then we can then pull up that supplemental object code workshop because worksheet, because that has the comments on it.
Yeah.
And so it's a little more detailed than what's in their red section.
Yeah. But first on the red section, if we can move forward, I want to jump.
Sure.
So very high level, I hope this is on your screen as well. It says proposed budget at the top. So from a very high level, this is the proposed superintendent's budget. So last year's budget at 77,438,090, that was the approved budget. We're proposing 78,268,081, which is an increase of $829,991, or 1.1% increase. And if you look at the sections, the 8 sections that we break down all of our expenses into, you'll see that the salaries and wages and employee benefits, those are the big numbers. You know, transportation and tuition, of course, are very big as well. But the vast majority of the expense, I think we calculated 78% of the expense of the district is salaries and wages and benefits. And salaries and wages alone is 50,167,000, and we're proposing an increase of 963,000, which is a 2% increase. And
that is mostly contractual.
It's very, yeah, it's driven by the contractual. But because that's such a significant amount, that's where that payroll reconciliation comes in. It kind of explains that 963, and it just breaks it down into a different way. And so if I can, I'd like to switch to that one now.
Go for it, Ken.
Where is it?
I don't know. I can't help you, dear.
It's never easy to find it once you leave it. Golly. It is right here. All right. Okay. So
You want to make it a little bit bigger, Ken?
Sure, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that?
That looks better to me.
So what we're doing here is we're starting with last year's salary and wages number. That's $49,203,539. And what we're doing is we want to know what's changing to make that 49,203 become, where's that number?
58,569 down below.
No.
No, it becomes ultimately our budgeted salaries number of 50,167,065. So what changes? That's what this attempts to do. So the first thing, and Susan said this is the main driver, is we have contractual pay raises built into our union contracts. And if you add all these up for all 5 contracts, that amounts to almost $1.2 million. It's a significant number. And so this takes each person and brings them forward, whether they're stepping or whether it's just a percentage increase, and it calculated out $1.1 million, or almost $1.2 million. We also have a certain amount of our staff who are not union, and we have put in as a placeholder a 2% increase, which is what we have done in the past, which the board would have to approve and move forward on. But if you take that 2% on the non-union, that adds an additional $58,000. If you go a little further down, we do have some additions to staff that we've added. I think we've talked about most of these.
We have, yep. They actually occurred at the beginning of this year, so we had talked about them even last spring.
So there's the Apex person that we talked about, and TESOL. There's the additional the data manager. So these folks add an additional $543,959 to the total salaries. And then also we have happening this year, we have the 3 elementary schools closing and the 2 opening. And so there is a certain amount of consolidation that will happen. And so we have identified these positions as being eliminated through that process. So that removes 468,270. There are a few positions that we are proposing to move to the MSAP grant, and we'll talk more in detail later about why we're doing that. But that would remove an additional 147,000. And then there's some additional adjustments down here at the bottom. We projected a retirement number. We have actual for last year, and we have actual numbers in, so that reduced it further. We did over budget on our curriculum coordinators. We have a differential with Dr. Grenier moving on. We do have a reduction in the paras and tutors. One of our assistant principals has an adjustment, and then there's a small change in the stipends. So all those miscellaneous items equal up to actually a reduction of 216,753. And that's what gets us, all these things put together, that gets us to that 50,167,065, which is the salaries budget that's in our budget, which is a $963,000 increase, or almost a 2% increase. And so, I find this helpful because it's the most significant number on the page. We always want to understand how what's driving that change, and that's what this schedule is attempting to do.
It also helps us keep track.
Yeah, exactly.
Rita?
Oh, I had a question about some of the additions that we granted last year, and if some of them could be relooked at. When you have a literacy intervention specialist at the high school at almost an additional 93,000, that's more than the data manager is making. And I'm wondering that is basically a teacher. And why is it such a high salary, much more so than any other teacher's salary on here? That's a question for Susan.
Yeah,
I can stop on here.
In order to be an interventionist, you have to have a specific certification as a literacy consultant. And those are usually very highly qualified teachers who have experience and multiple certification. So it almost is like a teacher leader, but in this case, that was the cost of finding someone who had that level of experience and know-how.
Well, could this job be advertised again? I mean, this person had a 1-year contract, or?
Well, they were hired to be the literacy specialist, and are doing really a very fine job and have an enormous expertise. So not only, like all of our specialists, not only are they working as interventionists with students, but they're working with teachers also to give them more information and professional learning. One of the things that we've taken on is this assessment through Lexia Power Up, the Lexia Corporation, to figure out Lexiles on all of our kids, middle school and high school. So a shout out to Amy McKenna in her role as coordinator 6 through 12, because this has been really a missing ingredient. So this specialist, this literacy person, is really instrumental in helping the testing process occur in both the middle school and the high school, and Amy is doing that too. And also being able to do running records and the kinds of assessments that even a literacy teacher at the high school may not know how to do because of her level of expertise.
I still find that this is overwhelmingly a very high salary. I just can't believe it. I mean, it makes as much as some of our vice principals almost make. Well, I know we try to hire, but there might be somebody else out there. So I just think if you wanted to save some money.
We did a thorough job with HR looking for the just right person, and that was the choice. And usually we do try to hire teachers earlier on in their career, but if they have a specialization like this, that it does require someone with the certification to be able to do the job and the experience and know-how. So
Liz?
Is this person Susan, are they covered by the teacher's contract or are they covered by the administrator's contract? Because
no,
it seemed to be,
They're
they
a
are a
teacher,
teacher.
yeah, but they're a certified reading consultant.
Okay.
Any other questions about this sheet before we move forward?
I don't have, I've still got to process, you know, and
Right. I still find it's a little confusing, but.
So what, can I ask, just so, if we don't, if you can figure out what is confusing for you, so then Ken and Susan in our next week can then make sure that because it makes sense to him, but he does this on a daily business. This is his yeah.
My preference would be to see the FY 2021 budget on one side, and then next to it, the FY 22, you know, going forward, like right next to it, as opposed to sort of lined up the way it is. I don't know. It's just, I find it a little
We
confusing.
didn't give you a whole lot of time. I apologize, because as we were reviewing it this morning, we kind of rediscovered this document and said this would be really good for the board to have, so we can come back to it too. So even if you think of questions in between, just email Ken and I, and we can address it again in another workshop, so you have a little more time to digest it.
Right.
Okay?
So Rita, are you talking about this one sheet you would like to have last year's or this current year's budget on the other side of this?
Well, it has both on one page.
Yeah, it's kind of like marching from one to the next, right? You're saying you want to see something here and then something here, and I think maybe the next document we look at might do that
In the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that does do that. But if you wanted a single sheet and you wanted to see the real differences, it would be nice to have it next to
Well,
each
and
other.
some of this sheet does, what were the additions that we agreed to? And then what are the consolidations that we've been able to make based on the closing of the schools? So it's kind of a plus and minus sheet too.
Right.
This
And
is what
also
we add, this
the
is
little,
what we can subtract.
right, the abbreviations, you know, I understand the special ed. And then TESOL, I'm not sure what that is.
That's language learner teacher certified.
Right.
Okay. And then underneath it, the above data manager, ATL.
So that was a Groton Middle School course that was added, that we needed to have added to the schedule. So we added that.
Is it a teacher? Or?
It's a teacher who teaches it, yes.
Yeah.
So,
but what is ATL? I mean, that's just what's not clear.
So those are really kind of the skills that kids need. So they're more like study skills, life skills, organization skills, which middle schoolers really need. And the middle school community felt like that was an essential ingredient for middle school for kids.
So what's great is that you guys got this document to us, and I really appreciate that. But maybe next week we can have this just a little bit cleaner so that we can understand it and follow through.
Sure.
That would be great. But Ken and Susan,
Okay.
thank you very much for throwing that together like that.
All right. So I was going to move to the object code worksheet. That's in the left hand. Let's see.
The pocket.
The pocket. Yeah, thank you.
It has the same information under your red tab, but this gives you comments.
Yeah. So this object code worksheet is the same as the object code summary. It just it's laid out lengthwise, and it adds in these comments, which of course now we're cut off a little bit. I don't want to make it.
Well, you can put the people at the top or bottom. So
Oh yeah, you're right. I can. All right. Okay. So this kind of goes down in a little more detail as far as the object codes. But then it kind of summarizes in these comments what we looked at just now. So for instance, in that first line, administration, object code 105, that's this line 48. we're adding the 1.0 FTE data manager. So this is the same information we just looked at, but we're looking at it in this format.
But it kind of explains why there was an increase.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so for principals, it's the reduction of 1.0 principal due to the consolidation. But of course, we have contractual increase in there as well, so they kind of offset a little bit. Assistant principals. I mean, I don't know if we want to go through each one of these, but so this is the object code view of what we just looked at. And to prove that, if I can, I'm going to just scroll down to this line 81. And you'll notice that this increase, decrease on line 81 right here is that same 963,526. So it's a different way of looking at that same change in cost year over year. Because it went from the 49,203 to 50,167 in our proposed budget. Do you want to look through each of these individually, or do we want to move on?
I think for the summary, it would be worthwhile because it gives us that overarching view.
Yeah.
To orient on.
So I'm back up at the top of this line 50 is assistant principals. And so this was a slight increase. We did have a decrease in one of the assistant principal salaries, but there was a contractual increase. And then under dean slash curriculum coordinators, we did over budget in the prior year. So we do see a decrease in the budget year over year.
Well,
So,
and was the assistant principal decrease due to the principal becoming assistant principal?
that is correct. That is correct. Yes. So administrators year over year, we're actually have a decrease of $34,000 or like a 0.7% decrease this budget versus last. Teachers, so teachers is a very big group. There's many teachers and there's a lot of ins and outs. We've boiled it down to there's a net 1.5 FTE decrease with all the ins and outs. So that decreases the amount a little bit, but then there are contractual increases which bump it back up. And so that's what's driving that 739,000 increase. Similar with special ed certified is actually a 2 FTE increase plus the contractual increase and steps. It's a smaller group than the classroom teachers. The media specialists, we're reducing 1 media specialist, but then it's offset slightly by the contractual increases, and guidance just contractual increases. Let's see, in tutors, there is a reduction, but they also have contractual increases, so it only decreased 19,000, and the stipends went up 1% per contract. And so that's total for teachers 980,000 or 2.9%, which that's pretty consistent with the percentage increase we see in this section every year, unless there's a big change in the population like we had last year.
And was close to initially what we came out with at 3.1 before the board worked with us to kind of make some suggested reductions to get it down to 1.1.
Yeah, we'll go over when we get to benefits the main reason why it decreased so much. On the non-certified aides, these are our paras and our kindergarten aides and our bus aides. It's an increase in total of about $40,000, 1.1% increase. We do have a couple of para ones that are retiring. We're adding para twos to make up for those retirements, and that costs the district a little bit less. We are adding some K aides, some transitional kindergarten aides. So there is an increase up there, but overall 1.1% increase. Substitutes, we are proposing to continue to increase the sub rate so we can keep ahead of the minimum wage issue that we're not an issue yet, but it will be unless we keep increasing that. So there is a 1.8% increase overall for substitutes. Clerical, there is a reduction of one school secretary at the elementary schools. So that's driving a reduction, but they also have a contractual increase that's offsetting that reduction. When it comes to custodians, very similar, that we're reducing one custodian, but they have contractual increases, as well as a maintenance and tech group. And then the last group here is the security guards, which we put in the 2% placeholder. So that's salaries. We want to stop here, Kim, or keep going?
Do we've got questions on this? Because I'm assuming that we're on the overview part of that, and then we're going to be moving to the regular education. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to understand what you mean by the security. You put in 2% as a placeholder. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's just we assume that there may be an increase in the salaries for this group, and we assume 2%, but it's an assumption at this point.
Right. And then also, how much does a substitute regular ed teacher earn a day now?
I don't have that number here.
Less than $100.
Yeah, it's very close to $100.
It's less
So
than.
we went up.
Lori. Yep. Lori's here. Hi, Lori.
Hi. It's currently $92.75.
Oh, so then with almost 2%, it would be almost 100. Right. Okay.
That must put us close to other districts, does that?
Lori, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, yes. It keeps us in a very competitive position.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. If we want to move on to benefits, the health insurance benefits. So when we last spoke about the budget, this number here on line 84 was much larger. We are putting in an estimate of a 7% increase in claim costs based upon our conversations with Anthem Blue Cross. Based upon our conversation at the end of December, we decided that we were going to reduce our health insurance reserve by $1.5 million. And so this number is $1.5 million less than the last time we looked at it. And so year over year, it's an $820,000 decrease because this year, I should say, we had $7.9 million budgeted. We think next year is going to be $8.6 million, but we brought it down by 1.5 by reducing our health insurance reserve, which we'll go over in more detail at a future budget workshop. But it's driving this reduction of $820,000 year over year. Workers' comp and town pension, we haven't gotten those numbers yet from the town, but these are estimates of what we think that might be based upon past experience. Social Security and Medicare are just calculations of taxes off of the salaries that we looked at already. And then other employee benefits, the driver here is tuition reimbursement. We're proposing a $25,000 increase, and we have a process where we do help teachers that are continuing their education, and then there's also a new TRP, teacher residence and a partnership.
Yep.
Is that it? Wow.
Yep.
That we're also want to fund through this line. And so that's generating an increase for the other employee benefits of $23,000 $1,000. But overall benefits, we're proposing a decrease of $751,000 or a 7.2% decrease, driven by the health insurance.
So can we have questions? Jay, I think you have a couple.
I can take it off if you like.
Yeah, Ken, about the benefits, specifically the health insurance. I've always been uncomfortable with the fact that we're mixing the years together. Do the accounting standards allow you to create a line showing separately what we're actually taking from prior years to reduce the overall, so that we really see the true cost on the line for the coming year? And then beneath it, we see what we're borrowing or what we've transferred from previous years, rather than lump it all together? Or does GASB prevent you from doing that?
Well, it doesn't prevent us, but it's the way the process functions, because everything really goes into a pot. It goes into this reserve, all the different pieces, and so I think we can definitely break it out. I don't know about showing it separately.
I just get the feeling as we go over the history, how all of a sudden a number will be artificially low, and there'll be this huge increase in the next year, and your eye will go to it and say, why did this go up so much? Well, because it was reduced by a surplus that was brought forward from a previous year.
Right.
And I just want to be more transparent to show that surplus on a separate line. But I'm just throwing that out. I'm not putting you on the spot for an answer tonight, but just
that's something
that
that
we could show
we
that.
take back and look at carefully. If Lori and Ken and I almost foresee a chart or something that kind of.
Yeah, we've had charts that have attempted to do that. I understand what you're saying, but maybe it hasn't looked at it, over time. So I think I understand what you're saying, because you'd expect the expense to kind of like, go up, but then offset or added to for the change in the reserve underneath. Yeah.
And I think the comment section attempts to get at that, but I think a chart might help us to delineate it better.
Yeah, because right now the expense for this year is funded by the town and state contributions. But we've now brought in this surplus from a previous year. And if we could just put that on its own line to show that it came from a prior year surplus rather than a current year tax, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think on that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't expect you to know tonight. It's been bothering me for years.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you brought it forth.
All right. Any other thing? We'll
Yes,
move
yeah.
on. Oh, Dean, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I might. Yeah, I was ready with a question, but it sounds like it's going to be dealt with in a future session. And mine is simpler than Jay's. I'm not going to go to GASB. And I've heard bits and pieces of the possible answer to this, which was, this was my question. When we saw the first numbers, it was explained to us, well, you're going to see this larger than normal increase in the overall budget because the 2021 year was, we enjoyed, if you will, lower claims because of the current environment, but let's not count on that for the 21-22 budget, cross fingers and hope that we're done with this nonsense. So then I see this and I think, oh, so we're planning on a repeat essentially, but I'm hearing that there's a surplus of some sort that we're rolling over. Again, not expecting an answer tonight, but I will be expecting an explanation to sort of reconcile what I heard before and what I'm seeing now in the future session.
Yeah, on one of the meetings, I think it's the one on February 3rd, I think we are planning to go into the health insurance reserve more depth. And so at that time, it's probably a good idea to have the answers to some of those questions available and to review.
I'll be honest, the first time when I first saw this and I thought, wow, this is really very different from what we first saw. What's the difference? Oh, look, and without any explanation, it almost looks like a fudge. If we just copy the 2021, benefits portion, we'll be under that ugly 3% number, and it'll look like a gentle 1 point something number. But if there's a sound explanation for why this changed, then I'm fine with it. But I'll defer to later. Thanks.
All right.
All right, back to the summary. If I can find it. Why is it always so hard? There it is. All right, the next section is purchase services. These are services that we utilize that aren't done by our own staff. Instructional services are some of the field trips and items like that. Instructional improvement services, these are people coming in and doing PD with our teachers. Under professional services, these are legal services, auditing services, and actually on other professional services, you'll see that we do have the 2 SROs, so the 2 resource officers at the high school and middle school, and we also have the athletic trainer at the high school and middle school in here. And then this also provides for, medical consultations, OT and PT services. And so that's an increase of 0.7% year over year. Athletic officials and other athletic services such as, what do they do there? Like when they redo some of the equipment, that's where those services get charged. That's actually a decrease year over year of 3%. And then computer network services of, let's see, we're budgeting 148,000, which is a 6.9% increase. So overall purchase services, we're budgeting at 1.3% increase.
Ken?
Unless I will not.
Ken, it's Liz. I have a question. Why do we have the 2 SROs on line 101, but back here under security and supervision, line 80, aren't they supposed to be in the same place?
So this section here for purchase services, these are folks that are not on our payroll. So up above, those are our security guards that we have on our payroll.
Oh, got it.
Our police officers.
Sorry.
So we help support their salary when they're in our buildings, but then they do, other work for the police department too, beyond that, beyond the school day, in the summertime.
Sorry, my mistake.
We pay a portion of their salary, not the whole thing.
That's right.
That's a good thing. Okay, sorry.
All right. Property services is the next section.
Can we go back to 97 and 98?
97, yep.
Instructional services, did you say field trips are in that?
Yeah, so this is where Project O would be. That's probably the biggest driver, but also Pequot Suppose and
but are they still doing those things? I mean, since last March, wouldn't that have been a reduction?
You can see that the actuals for FY20 were down from 19, and we only have what was budgeted so far in 21. And I would say that yes, it is down, but what they've all done is these virtual field trips. So instead of going out on Project O or going out with NES or even Mystic Seaport, they've done these marvelous virtual field trips that we've taken advantage of. We've just scheduled some for the Mystic Seaport, where we usually go to the seaport or the aquarium in certain grade levels to do the science and social studies. They're going to get that experience in-house, in the classroom, or on Zoom at home in a virtual way. So I don't know that I think the cost, there's some savings to it. There's certainly savings if there's no transportation and other things that we're dealing with, but.
Yeah, but when we get to the real object code summary, we'll see the whole breakdown of this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna get more detail.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So property services, water and sewer, we're budgeting at the same level. Snow, we're hoping that our experience over the past couple of years continues. But we do have some more in-house equipment, hoping that maybe that can offset some of the costs that would have been charged to us. Repair and maintenance. So these are all these are the services only, not supplies, that Sam and his group would utilize. Overall, for all of them, it's a 1.6% decrease, and I think that's reflective of newer buildings and hopefully less repair. And rental. This is the cost for all the items that we rent. Probably the driver in here would be our copiers. We're installing a print management solution across all the schools, meaning you could be in any school and print to any printer or copier within the district. And so, which is a much more efficient way to print as opposed to the individual little HP printers that everyone has on the desks. And so, but that's going to increase our rental, and we're anticipating a decrease in computer supplies down below when we get there.
Well, and it also requires to have an ID. So you can't, you really have to be an authorized person to do that. And it will only print out when you go to use your ID. So there's not wasted print, and there's data that you can collect to see where the printing is happening. So you can kind of really analyze that for efficiencies.
Right. Yeah. If you see something going on, you can pinpoint where that additional printing is happening, and make sure it's appropriate. But overall, property services, we're budgeting a $19,000 decrease, which is a 2.3% decrease. So next is, do we want to stop? No, I hate to just keep on talking. I could talk forever.
You're doing a fine job, Ken.
All right. So the next section, transportation and search and communications, intuition. It's a big, it's a melting pot of a lot of different things. But this very first line is probably the most interesting line in this section. And this is our regular ed transportation that we have through STA. And you'll notice a $301,000 increase in this year budget over last year's budget, or 10.7%. This is being driven by the MSAP grant is no longer funding the additional buses. So we had 4 buses that were paid for by the MSAP grant when the 2 middle schools were separate. Now that they're all one school, the group says that it's no longer appropriate to fund additional buses. So that's the cost of those 4 additional buses, as well as a contractual increase of 3% that we had agreed upon when this contract, which I think we're in the 4th year of now.
However, we were able to adjust the MSAT grant to take on those 3 different teaching positions through STEAM, that were STEAM positions. And so that is an offset to that 301. I think that came out to be about $150,000 approximately.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. So of that 301, about 200,000 of it is those 4 additional buses. And yeah, we offset it by a decrease up in the salaries of those teachers that you mentioned. Yeah.
Ken, is this the last year of the MSAC grant?
22 is the last year. So this year we're looking at budgeting. This is the last year.
Right. So then we'd have those teachers plus the buses.
Yeah, those 2.5, those teachers would need to be funded by something else. You're correct.
So Ken and I have had conversation on doing a deeper dive into transportation, and
Good.
basically even maybe through a consult, and using Dennis, who's really provided this new software to make sure that we're using that appropriately and carefully and looking for efficiencies. So that's on my list of things to do.
Thank you.
We also have the special ed transportation that STA provides to us, and as well as the curtain that does the individual runs. And so those also have contractual increases in them. So we're anticipating the transportation for schools to be up 7.3%, and it's driven by those 4 buses that we have to now pay for through this budget. Other transportation expenses is athletics, field trips. And as you mentioned, these may be different in that if they're virtual or not, but this is based upon I think normal days. But overall, it's for transportation other a $17,000 or 10% increase. For the staff, we have a 4,179 increase, 3.1% increase over the current year budget. Looks like it's being driven by possible conferences.
I think that too came through the site budgets, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, quite a bit of it comes through the site budgets. You're right. Insurance, our insurance agent has suggested that we should expect a 3% increase over the current year. So that's baked in right here under liability insurance. So that's about a 3% increase. Communications, which is like telephones and our advertisement, kind of like a hodgepodge of things here. But that's about 11% increase. The driver here is a minority recruitment, which was paid for under Alliance last year and this year. But we anticipate we'll have to fund that in 22.
Ken, you moved on from.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was back on 141 travel for conferences.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that there would be this huge increase when people aren't traveling. I mean, you don't have to travel to do a virtual conference.
That's true.
So, I mean, could you relook at that and see why there is that huge increase?
We can go back to that. We'll put a note.
I mean, especially since last March when everything shut down.
Well, I think that's true that this year you've certainly seen since last March a total decrease. Everything is virtual. So, but next year, hopefully with the vaccine, people will be able to go to do certain conferences. And I know with IB and MYP and even AP, there are different conferences that people, do want to attend. And while you can maybe get some of those virtually, I don't know that you can get all of that information virtually. Should things go back to normal, Rita?
I think that we would need to make sure that we have something there because I'm sure MYP and IB is going to require some conferences for us to keep up the not certification, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's almost double.
We can go back to that, Ken. I think we should go and look at that more.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
All right. Let's see. I think I left off here tuition. So for special education tuition, we're budgeting it at the same level as this current year budget. This one, there's a lot. It's hard to estimate this, and so there may be, if we have less students, there may be some reduction here. But at this point, we don't feel like we have enough information to budget a reduction in this area.
Well, we see though that the special ed magnet choice is down.
Yeah, that's a reflection of
pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Is that out of district placement or magnet placement?
It's magnet placement. Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly, we can look at that closer to when Denise comes in to do her part.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think I'll look at that. That does look odd now that I see it. tuition other is the non-special education tuition, and it's a lot of the magnet and VOAG for regular ed students as well as our adult ed piece. We have noticed a reduction in the enrollment for regular ed students out of district, so that's what we're basing this this decrease of 125,000 on. We anticipate that the enrollment continues from what we saw this year. It could go down lower, but it could also go up. So it's an
especially if we can market the 5 magnet elementary schools in a timely fashion. So we have Rebecca meeting with the principals so that we can get on that.
Yeah, yeah, and Fitch is a good alternative to the
Fitch, yeah.
Yeah. So overall for this section, $273,000, almost $274,000 increase, or 2.4% increase. Moving on to supplies. So the instructional supplies, this is a lot of, pens, papers, any of the things that we need in phys ed and arts and home ec. Overall for this group, we are budgeting to be down 1.8% year over year. This is driven by the site budgets from the schools. So the schools provided the information that rolled up to this. So they're anticipating needing less supplies. It looks like this athletic supplies. Last year we had bumped up the Groton Middle School athletic supplies because they had to get all new uniforms, all new everything. And so we are reducing that we should have that initial supply in-house now. So that looks like a driver here, as well as a reduction in the unfunded lunch liability.
What's that?
If the lunch program has unfunded lunch balances from students, the lunch program can't carry that over to the next year. The district has to cover that cost.
Oh, okay.
And
So
this
Ernie,
year we're in good shape because everybody was paid for free to get free breakfast and lunch. So we shouldn't have that issue at the end of this year, but we don't know what's going to happen for next year yet.
Right. Computer supplies. This is where we talked about earlier that our little HP printer, the lease has ended. So we're going to a centralized print management solution. We're anticipating a reduction in cost here, around $18,000. But also under computer supplies, there's our softwares. We had quite a few of our softwares covered through different programs last year: CARES, CRF, and the DoD supplemental, where we think we're going to have to pay for a lot of these softwares ourselves next year, and so we're budgeting in a pretty hefty increase here of 25%, 25.9% year over year. So that's a pretty big increase. There.
Ken, what happens to the individual HP printers?
We retain them, so we have them. They still can be used. If anything goes wrong with them, they won't be repaired. But we have them, and they're our own. We have to provide our own toner going forward.
But would we need them?
Why would we need them?
Yeah.
We don't.
If we're going to be doing a centralized print.
Right, we don't, and to be honest, it's a lot less efficient to buy those little toners to go into each of those printers than it is to have a big machine that can print them off for much cheaper.
So would teachers be turning those in? Would they have an option to buy them if they wanted to, or?
That has not been discussed.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
But they are the district's property at the end.
Right.
Moving on to electricity and heating. So we're anticipating a rather increased cost here. We have the 2 new buildings that they're going to draw quite a bit of electricity. They're new. They're lighting, AC, ventilators, the whole thing. Plus, we have to continue to carry the older buildings until we turn them over to the town. So the sooner we can turn them over to the town, the better off we'll be. But this is anticipating that we hold on to them for a bit of time through 2022. That same goes for heating them as well as electricity. So I would anticipate that this number could go down in 23 if we can get those buildings moved over back to the town sooner rather than later. On the transportation supplies, the diesel for the school buses. So this is hard to predict. We're using a lot less diesel this year than we did last year. We used a lot less last year than the year before. You'll see that 19 and 20 both are around 275. That's because we purchased all of the diesel that we had already had a contract for at the end of 20, and we're utilizing some of that this year. And so I anticipate that unused diesel for this year will be able to offset next year, but it's hard to get a gauge on exactly what those numbers are going to be. So there could be additional reduction here, but at this point, I'm hesitant to bake that into a budget. But the small increase overall, pretty much flat, 1,396 year over year. Textbooks and library books, you'll see the under textbooks, that's the effect of having more softwares and more online resources. And so your textbooks, we're not buying as many of the physical textbooks that are out of date as soon as they're printed anyhow. And so you'll see a reduction there. But we are still buying workbooks that the students can use as well as keeping up with our library book purchases. But overall for textbooks and library, down 15,000. For these are supplies that Sam and his group would use. We're anticipating, we had reduced the amount of the budget in FY21, and when the town reduced our budget request, we had leftover supplies from FY20, and so we were able to reduce our FY21 budget. This is anticipating we restore some of that so that we have the appropriate amount of custodial supplies on hand. And that's what's driving that overall 16,590 or 5.2% increase in facility and maintenance supplies. Other supplies, these are admin supplies. It's what's used by the offices, whether it's the central office or the administration at the schools, as well as professional materials like books and other materials that are used in PD. Overall, that's a $12,000, 350 or 17% increase. So for supplies, in total, 275,000 increase over this current year, 8.6%. We're in the home stretch. I see the bottom.
That's fading.
So the next section, and we break this down between instructional and non-instructional equipment. Instructional equipment, majority of our equipment we purchased through instructional equipment that we have, whether it be the panels or the Chromebooks. A lot of that is purchased with the DoD supplemental. And we'll talk about that on the 3rd as well when we review the DoD supplemental impact aid account. But we're budgeting a 4.2% increase in instructional equipment. And then for non-instructional, this is being driven, I believe, by the IT group and their need for switches and maintaining the network. And so those costs, which we've paid for that through the DoD supplemental in the past, but at this point, those costs are coming through here. And so that looks like a rather large increase. It's 44,750 or 170%. Overall, we're budgeting an increase of 47,000 or 52% increase for total equipment. And then the last section here, dues and fees.
Before you get there, Ken, I have
yeah.
a question about the additional number 216, additional instructional equipment. If you look back over the history, 2018 to 2019, there was a huge jump there. Is that a typo?
No. So right here on FY20, 298, 289.
Yes.
Instructional equipment.
Are you on line 216?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say it's not a typo because then my numbers wouldn't be right. But I can't tell you off the top of my head exactly what that is, but I will tell you.
Okay.
Well, look,
yeah, because
you're right.
That is
it's
huge.
just,
And
yeah.
I'm not thinking of anything.
And even the line above it also, it's a big difference.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, this was just last year, so I should have that in my head. And that may be, we did purchase display panels and Chromebooks at the end of FY20 or after we shut down and we started looking at what we needed. We authorized taking some of those costs from DoD supplemental, as well as I believe some of it from here. So I'm thinking that that's what's driving that, but I'll get a definitive answer for you.
And the same when you get down to 220.
220. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I can tell you exactly what makes that up. So I will do that.
And that's part of the reason that we go through the function code and look at everything in detail, but this at least alerts us to be paying closer attention to it.
Yeah.
Seems like we bought a number of Promethean boards, didn't we? And those large panels for the middle schools.
We did.
And we did split it between DoD supplemental and it'd be interesting to see what our plan is for the use of that this year.
All right.
I know that Fitch High School, the active panels are a main priority. We were hearing concerns, even from parents and kids and teachers that they weren't, they weren't working like they should.
They're old.
They are old.
Yeah.
But now we're replacing them.
And so the last section here is dues and fees. And so you'll notice that on line 226, it's an increase of 14,494. And that is being driven by the high school. They have dues for MYP and for CP, the career program, that is driving that increase. And we'll see those when we get to the function codes.
So that's all the IB. I mean, not all the IB. That's the new additional IB.
Exactly. So the regular IB is already baked in there,
right.
But these new bits are adding to the dues. And so that's what drives our 829,991 increase, or 1.1%. That's. Whew.
I agree with
Need
you.
a seventh inning stretch.
Oh. That's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information.
So we've been pretty committed to kind of keeping this a good 2-hour meeting, and what we are supposed to be talking about is all of the back page. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
The function.
The function. So can we, as a group, make a decision about what we see as use? I can't imagine that we're going to go through all of these, all of this section. I just don't see it happening. So
Lori, Ken, and I did kind of a walkthrough ourselves, and we said the very same thing when we were done. And we didn't take as much time on the front part of the orientation.
Right.
So when we were going through it, I'm trying to think about what we thought. The first whole section of going through all the instructional components goes up to, it really from page 5.4,
Yep.
elementary, down to 541, which is the health occupation. So, you know, I would say that if we could get elementary and some of the secondary, you know, those are the major disciplines like ELA, Spanish, world language, social studies, math.
So what is the will of the board?
My will is that I'd like to start back where we always usually did, was enrollment by grade history, going to the Groton Public Schools before we even get to the other part of the budget. I mean, I'd like to understand our enrollment for next year, what's predicted, what's not, how it's changing or not changing by grade level.
So
and
Rita,
then that helps you.
Yeah.
When was that going to be talked about?
Well, we have what was estimated by us, but like we said, McBroom has done, you know, Zuba has done a much more thorough job that we can use for enrollment and transportation and everything. But we're just awaiting that. He's already kind of briefed us on it, but we actually have that data coming in. So
Do you
I
think
would
you
like
have
to be
it for next time?
I can call him and see that it could be ready for next time.
Jay, what is your thinking as the chairperson of the Finance and Facilities?
I mean, I think it'd be nice if we get through elementary.
So let's just do it.
What if we just set that as a demarcation and just get through elementary? I don't know.
And then possibly hopefully next time we'll have that stuff and we can do that and then possibly finish off. I mean,
So you don't want to start at 5-4?
Yeah, that's elementary.
Susan, how,
Well, let's see where we're at after we do elementary and see how you're feeling, how much time it takes us, and then we can kind of go from there if needed.
all right.
All right. So here we go. All right.
Could we tell us where we are tab-wise? Thank you.
All right. So we're on the pink tab.
Great.
And we're going to go down to page 5-4.
Got it.
Do you have to share since we all have this in front of us?
I don't have to, no.
No, thank you.
But
I mean,
it is
unless somebody needs it.
It is a public meeting, so there might be people.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. That's fine.
But Susan, if we were at a public meeting and this was in person, they wouldn't necessarily have this budget in front of them.
Okay, so I won't share?
No, I'm making the decision not to share. I think it's easier to find out who's got questions, who doesn't, if we can see people's faces.
Okay, so 5-4. So the way the book works is the top page goes over the number of FTEs that are paid for by the dollars on the bottom page. For this first section, function 1101 elementary, we have classroom teachers, and we had 130.8 in this year. I don't know if you can see that mid-page.
All the way down to the bottom of 101 classroom teachers where it says total.
Right. And we're proposing 128.3 teachers with a reduction of 2.5. And the one of the exhibits we looked at earlier, it was identified as an art teacher, a music teacher, and half of a PE teacher. So that's what's driving the 2.5 FTE decrease. And as far as aides, we're anticipating we'll need approximately the same number of aides because it's the same number of students approximately. And so it's about 24, a little bit more than 24 aides. So that's that top section.
And you actually have it, if you look in the little box, the budget narrative, that was another positive feedback we got from all of you last year, where it talks about the program and then the changes from 21 to 22. So Ken has outlined those changes again here. So you can see the 1.0 FTE for art and music and 0.5 for PE, which he just mentioned.
So then if you go down to 5-5, these are the dollars that support those teachers as well as the functions that they do. And so for 101 classroom teachers, you'll see it's actually an increase of 90,607. But it's a couple of things going on. It's a reduction in the number of FTEs, but it's an increase in their salaries due to contractual increases. So it comes out to a 90,607 increase. And then
You don't have a placeholder here for retirements yet, a projection at all?
that's correct. That's correct. Their retirements have not been put in here.
So there could be a significant
Well, we only know
number.
three.
Three.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just haven't put it in yet. That their date ended in December, end of December. So, and you know, that's what we've heard of so far.
3 elementary, Susan, or 3 total?
3 total.
2 elementary, 1 high school.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's the salaries on 111 for the aides above. Okay, and then as well as they're the aides, 130. So 111 and 130 are the aides, and 120 is the sub teachers. So in total for salaries and wages, we have an increase of 326,000. Oh, because there's no retirements. We had a significant amount of retirements in the prior year, and so that's driving an increase because we don't have the same number of retirements this year. But it's a 3% increase over the prior year.
But that 3.1 keeps rearing its head as, and I think this is really the driver from our original look at this, and basically based on contracts.
Yeah, that's the main driver.
I'll ask Lori, is that right, Lori? Am I learning?
Hi, sorry, can you repeat that?
So I said that 3.1 we see, we've heard as an increase for this budget, and the driver seems to be right there in that salary area based on contracts and steps and
Correct.
all that.
The typical contract and steps for teachers is about 3%.
Yep.
Could you explain to me on 120 and 130 what TMT is?
Temporary.
Regular sub teachers.
It's a reference to call it temporary.
Yeah.
Temp.
So all subs are, I mean, there's a huge difference between the 2018, 19, and then the next one, and then it's gone down quite a bit. I was just curious. And yet there's
the CARES Act. We use those grants to help us cover because of COVID-19,
Right.
some of the additional subs that we've had to have. So
right.
We actually didn't use some of the operations budget. We used some of those grants that we were provided from the government.
I think that would be good to explain that, because otherwise it looks as if we budgeted a lot, then we didn't need as many, but yet we actually needed more.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Good point, Rita.
Yeah, that is a good. That's why we have you go through this so you can highlight this. A fresh set of eyes.
You know, Ken, Ken, it was pointed out to me that there's people who might be watching this meeting that actually wants to see this stuff, that is actually
Okay.
listening to this. And so for reference to or deference to the fact that there's people in the community that are interested and want to participate, at least watch what we're doing, I think it's important that they see the numbers as well. So I feel like I need to be corrected. It's nice for me to see people's faces, but I can actually on my own shove the paperwork off to the side and just and see that. And if you have a computer, you can kind of do that. But I think we do need to show that out.
Okay.
And I don't need my glasses then.
Let's see. That was this one. Okay. All right. So 5-4.
If we maybe could even make it a little bigger, there we go.
Is that big enough?
I think so.
Okay. And you know what? The shading doesn't show up in this. This is odd. So here's the salaries number that we just went over. The next section down is employee benefits, and so you'll notice that for group insurance, it's actually a reduction, and so that's reflective of that of what we're doing with health insurance as a whole, and so that's what's driving that decrease of 152,000 right there. The other ones, the workers' comp, Social Security, Medicare, those are the calculations based upon the salaries above. And so if those increase, the taxes will increase. So overall, employee benefits is showing a decrease of 142,000 or 7.9%. This line 321, instructional services, these are the elementary. This is the Mystic Seaport and the Pequot Suppose, and I don't remember all the ones, Susan, but
I think the aquariums in there, they have a few that.
Yeah. So these are the district-wide trips that are.
So the district tries to provide for each grade level a field trip or two that really meets the science standards or the social studies standards. So, and we like to do that as a district so that all kids in our school district get a chance and opportunity to have those field experience. But like I told you, they have been wonderful, but they've been virtual in the past 8 months.
So that's pretty flat year over year. It's actually exactly what we budgeted last year. So that's a 0% change. The next section down, 430, is repair of equipment. So this is repair of instruments, repair of any other equipment that might be at the elementary schools. This is driven by site budgets, and we have a $900 increase. I'm sorry.
Decrease,
which is a 3.5% decrease. Other purchase services, looks like a big increase, 24.5%. It's $2,600 larger than the year before. It's in the travel for field trip section, the driver, it looks like. Once again, these are budgeted through the site budgets at the individual schools. Hopefully we can travel.
I think they're hoping that they can travel.
Yeah, I think you're right.
With these field trips next year.
This next section, the 601 down to the 641, these are all of our supplies that we're using at the elementary school. You'll see that we have 79,900 budgeted here. We had budgeted in the previous year 67,932. So that's an increase of almost $12,000. Science supplies we have going up significantly, up $10,000. I'm just scanning down through here. This, you can see the texts, the textbooks going down $15,000, and then overall for total supplies, it's a $25,093 increase, or almost 15% increase.
And you
Ken, don't we take some of our computer supplies and softwares from our DoD budget, the 16,000 and the 9,000?
We haven't used ODEA for that. We did have the CARES Act and CFR that really helped us out during this remote learning time when we really need to expand our software. So that was really what covered those expenses.
And these are additional computer supplies that they utilize at the schools, you know, whether it's additional mice or keyboards or those little pens that we keep losing all the time, boards. It's those types of things that they're budgeting for here. You're right, though. We do buy the bigger equipment through DoD supplemental, you know, like the Chromebooks and the displays.
Would we, are we going to get like the site budgets, like the fold out?
Yes.
It's actually in your.
It's in the book. It's page 2-7.
So does that correlate to the classroom supplies?
It does. It does. Do we want it? We can go to it.
Or do you want, let's finish up here and then we can go back to that after that.
I'm just
Okay.
asking the will of the board. I mean, it kind of makes sense that we look at that as well.
Yeah.
So this last section is equipment, and so this is instructional equipment that they budgeted at the school level. These are they have like tables. There was one, I forget what it was, like a big rectangular table that they wanted to get, and so overall for equipment. This is a decrease actually of 2,750, almost 17% decrease. So for the total elementary, we're looking at $208,000 increase, or 1.6%, and that's inclusive of salaries and benefits for the group, this elementary group.
So are there people who've got questions on the elementary? Jay, I think you have one.
So I want to explore what Rita said a little bit more. I think this gets back to what I said about benefits earlier. So correct me if I'm wrong. But if we start at the very top of function 1101, we have two accounts, 101. One is called classroom teachers with a positive number, and the other one is same account number, but title retirements with a negative number. So I guess my question is, if we went to line account 120, if the FY21 budget, 2020, 2021, instead of being 286,350 was what we really spent, including CARES Act, couldn't we then insert a line underneath there showing how much came from CARES Act? See, what we're doing is we're splitting the budget into these multiple funding sources, and it really messes up the budget presentation, because as Rita says, one year you've budgeted 405, then all of a sudden it drops to 286. If we could somehow do a presentation that included all the funding sources, but I don't know, maybe your system just doesn't support that.
So that's really why, Jay, we wanted to have that comment section under summary, so we could outline that, and that other supplemental page where the reconciliation for staffing, so you could see that some things were covered by different grants. But because this is the operations budget, this is the, ends up being the board's budget in the town. I'm not seeing how we can integrate those other funding sources into this, unless, Ken, you have some idea.
Yeah, I don't know. We're having trouble seeing what is it that we want to see? We want to see the total amount spent across all funding sources?
Yeah, in other words, So you see where the 210,000 for teacher retirements is broken out on its own line, rather than just subtracted from the 10,521. I'm just asking about putting informational lines in here that could show that this is what we really spent this year, but it came from another source. The reduction came from another source. So you can clearly see that this number was reduced by 210 because of teacher retirements.
Right.
So is there some way to show that, this budget item was reduced by, and then the line above it would still track what the taxpayers spent. It would just explain better that how much came from the taxpayer and how much came from this other funding source.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just talking out loud. I know we can't solve it right this second, but
Well, like Rita's question on the 120 with the sub teachers, where we have 405, 487, and then it drops down to 286 and 214. And of course, that's because we actually had increased costs due to COVID. But because of that, we knew that was happening, and we had federal funds coming in to support us with that staffing. So
I just wish there was a way that we could more transparently show what was actually spent, so that, such as the question Rita had, wouldn't come up in the taxpayer's mind. They said that their expenses went up, but they actually look like they went down, without actually setting out this budget, Title I, DoD supplemental, and setting all those budgets up in a row. Is there some way to integrate into this presentation? But
well, let's think on that. I don't have any brainchild right now, but I understand what you're saying. It's like, how can we holistically see what the district is spending with the grants and all these other funding sources? We have that, but it's on different pages. We have that information, all that information.
I mean, at the very least, I think what maybe Rita was suggesting, correct me if I'm wrong, is you at least need a footnote
Yes,
on this
that's
page.
what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if that's all we can do, that's all we can do. Account 120 for FY21 budget was reduced by X amount from CARES Act. I mean,
Because my guess is, Jay, that there's going to be lots of different budgets around that have that as well, because we're putting pieces together to make sure that we can make our budget whole. But I don't know how you can integrate it, but that's not my job. But I think at least we can talk about it and kind of explain it in a footnote. But good.
Kim,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Liz?
Kim.
Oh,
Oh,
Dean.
I'm sorry.
No, please, Dean, go.
Scott, I don't mean to step on anybody's toes. I've seen Board of Ed budgets in the past. I've seen some pretty cryptic Board of Ed budgets in the distant past. So this is a lot of information. I come at a budget like this from my experience on the council. If you've seen the town's budget, their aggregates, revenue, expenses, and then it's broken down by department. And with each department, you see the cost center and you see the funding. And of course, the big number is usually the general fund and then any grants that might apply in public works or elsewhere. And, you still have to work through it to see if you're interested in how many tax dollars, property tax dollars, are funding something versus a grant. You still have to do the math yourself, but the expenses are the expenses and the revenues are the revenues. And what I'm coming to see here is that some of these items have the revenue source that's attached to that item, that's special for that item, already built in. And maybe and this is what Jay was talking about. So you see, it's a number down here and then the number changes, not because the expenses change, but because the funding has changed, but it's not immediately apparent. So, and I know this came without a revenue picture. So I was sort of going to do this the same way that I would do a town budget, which is to look at these and say, these are all the expenses. But it sounds like some of these already have a revenue source built in, or the last year's had a revenue source built in and this one doesn't. I think so. I think Jay and I are talking about the same thing. Again, just used to revenue on one side, expense on the other, as raw numbers, and you can offset them any way you want after that. But I also realize that that the district's probably been doing, has its own methodology. But I'm learning. I'm learning. Thank you, and thank you for Jay's suggestion for the footnotes. That would help.
Yeah, at least we could give that a start, but look at other possibilities.
So I'm going to recognize Rosemary because she has not spoken yet, and then I'll go to Liz.
I would love to know when the target dates for the revenue systems are due. For example, some are outdated, some run out on a certain time, and something that we need to look forward to. Do we need to absorb that in another grant or whatever, so that we have a real eye on the future when things are going to be coming due? So that would be very helpful information for me also. I'm done.
No, that's great. Thank you, Rosemary. Liz.
I just had a question. I'm going back to the classroom teachers retirements 101. And under FY21, it's bracketed, so I'm saying it's a decrease. Then I go over to almost to the far right column, and it's not bracketed. I'm confused. Why isn't that bracketed?
So
I think
question too.
that was my question also.
So if you have a decrease in the prior year, and
Yeah.
you have a corresponding decrease in this year, it actually increases your cost. I guess maybe a better way to think about it is the 10,521,000 is overstated by 210. So if you assume that 10,521,876 is really 10,311,876, that compared to the 10,612,483 is actually that 210 and 90,607 added together. It's math, really, is what it is.
I'm a social studies teacher for a reason, honey. So, but I'm almost there. Okay. I think I got it, but it's very confusing here.
I agree. I wish that we didn't have that line and it was just all in one, but that's not the way we have it set up here.
Well, maybe when you have the new retirements in, it'll look different.
It will look different, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But
Thanks, Rita.
it'll still be an increase over the last year's.
Right.
Yes.
Will we have those sheets that kind of delineate, like sort of like, I think CARES Act is going to be a new funding source for us. And so I think that this goes back to the Dean and Jay question. Is there a way that we can then sort of kind of talk about, because we talk about the how we get our monies? Is that in here?
So in the past, what we have provided is a page for the grants. It's rather summarized. It's a total amount, and then we talk about what we were able to fund with it. Is that what you're?
Yeah, but also we had about all of, there's like there's a lot more explanations in here in terms of Title I, all the just understanding how we get to our funding sources. And I think that's also sort of Rosemary's point, is kind of like, what, we had we've had that readers, readers. No, we haven't had readers. We've had the readers workshop, and that's not there. So that, I mean, so our public has seen that grant for multiple years and has seen that price. And so now we don't have it. So I think that that piece is missing in a previous year. Am I not making sense? People are.
So that's that whole yellow section, I think, that Ken is going to be adding.
Right.
That has that detail. And I certainly know that anytime we're talking about the grants, we do give you that detail and you actually help us with that, whether it's an Alliance grant, the MSAP grant we've showcased, all the DODIAs. So are you asking for like a level of detail on those grants, like a one-page detailed list of what they're funding and when they're funding it?
Yes.
I think that would be helpful. I'm not trying to make so much work, but I think that would be helpful. I think that I mean, this is multiple years of me going through the budget, so I think I finally get it, but like I'm having a hard time sort of owning all of it. And so I think that would have been helpful even for tonight for us to kind of see where that is, because then we could say, this is the X amount of money that we received. I'm going to use the CARES Act as the example. And so this is the amount of money that we received. This is what we spent. And I don't necessarily need, and Dean, please correct me, I don't know if people need to have every single function code down, but at least that they know that there's monies that have gone to salaries, monies that have gone to equipment, and then all those other ones, like what is Title I, what is Title II, what is the DOD, what is our impact aid. I think all of those in that section that we have, I think that would have been helpful to have.
Yeah, that's that yellow section. So we'll make sure that you guys get it and we take a look at that at our next.
Yeah. Well, this is what I love about the very first, our budget meeting, right? Is kind of like, so first of all, this is our first budget session with you, Susan, right? And so this is our first budget season in COVID in Zoom. And so that now we're talking, and now you guys get to hear about sort of what's going to be helpful for us to help march us through the rest of the time. And I think that it feels bumbly today, but I think it's bumbly because we don't know I don't know, maybe in a sense we don't know what we don't know. And maybe I should speak for me. Maybe I don't know what I don't know.
Well, I think every time we go through this process, we learn a little more about it and we learn what we want to learn more about it. Right. So in other words, we're able to add things like those budget narratives and the comment section. And now we're talking about footnotes and adding in pages in the yellow section that defines the grants better. So I think it's all about that process, Kim, that you talk about all the time. And I think it just helps us to get better at the process and understand it more in depth, all of us.
Rosemary, are you waving at me?
Yes, I am. And I just wanted to say something that it's Vince Lombardi, that great, wonderful football coach, used to start every single year in training by holding up a football and saying, "This is a football," and we're holding up our football.
Yes, that's right. Our budget football.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And we do sometimes want to kick it.
Thank you, Rosemary. Actually, that was a great analogy.
That was good.
He's one of my favorite people.
So were we able to get through all of the elementary all the way to the end here?
We did.
Yes.
All right.
I think.
Did we want to look at the site budget?
That's what was mentioned. It's
Is that
No,
the thing that
thanks.
falls out?
I think, unfortunately, I think I'm done.
Me too. And I think it's a good time to sit back then and review it at home.
There you go.
No.
Yeah, so 2-7 is a site budget. So
okay, and Ken, this is delightful. This is not delightful. Sorry, I know that this is what you do for your. But this is a good start, and I really appreciate your help in kind of working us through this process. So thank you.
So we'll go back and we'll look at our notes, and we will prepare you for the next workshop to focus on get that yellow section together with the grants and to review the site budget and then to keep marching forward under functions. How does that sound?
Good.
Does it
So
sound like
2-7?
Yeah, 2-7 and the yellow section.
Liz?
Susan, could I ask you, please? I have gone through the emails that I received, and I never received that payroll reconciliation document. Could you just shoot me another copy, please? I don't know why I don't get
Do
some
you
of them.
use a personal address or do you use the Groton? Because I
I
sent
use the Groton one. I didn't check my personal. Sometimes I get things through my personal, and I don't want you to use my personal.
No, I'm using Board of Ed. So
I
as long as
used
you're
it
on the Board of
also.
Ed,
I used it and never got it also.
I'll resend it to all the Board of Ed. I hope
Thank
you
you.
guys are all on that list. That makes me.
No, I received it.
I received it.
I did not.
I did not.
Okay, so that needs to be looked at.
I'll
It
resend
came from Joyce
Yeah, it came from Joyce.
at 11:10 this morning.
Mhm.
Additional
I'll-
exhibit.
Oh,
11:10, Joyce.
Yeah,
Get it?
and it says it right there. Additional exhibit.
yeah.
That's all right. If you
All
have as many emails as I have, it's hard to keep up
Yeah.
with.
So Dean, just,
Oh, I got it.
yeah.
Oh,
so just
yay.
acknowledge is
I don't
that,
have to resend it. Rosemary, how about you?
I can't go into that
Okay.
on this phone, or I go into it on this phone, and so I can't find out because I don't know how to go out of where I am.
Screens.
So
Yeah.
when we do those hard copies that you can add into your book, like the yellow section that's coming, we'll also do a copy of that so you can slip it in your,
Thank you. That would be perfect.
Thank
okay?
you.
I love paper,
I know.
okay.
and I'm going kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
Okay, so I'm moving us on to future topics. What I am going to need help on is just to make sure that where I'm not missing things that we need to talk about in committee of the whole, so that when we need to sort of vote on it on the Board of Ed, so that we have a chance to. So if you guys are thinking about things that I am missing, I need that to be sent to me so Susan and I can put it on our agenda. But we are really trying to keep the agenda really focused on just the budget so that we can kind of get as much done in the committee of the whole setting, so that we don't have to add extra meetings. Because remember, we have to, by charter, be done on the 28th. And that could mean that we're voting on it up until working on it until the 27th with a vote. So I don't think that that's what's going to happen, but we need to sort of be aware of that. Please also make sure that people understand that next Tuesday, the start of our budget workshop, we are having a public hearing. So the public hearing happens for the first hour. We get to hear from people, and Susan, I don't know how we want to make sure that gets out there.
But Joyce and I are working on that, and Mark's going to help us so that we get it all posted and published. And what we can do is stay on that link with the board, close out the one meeting, and then just continue on with our workshop. There might be people who are there who want to stay on and watch the workshop. That's fine.
That's right. And oh shoot. Also, we have our combined meeting in the very beginning of February with the town council. So I want to make sure that people are paying attention to that. And that Jay, tomorrow, the town council is going to be hearing the presentation of the Fields Committee that Jay has. He has been so thrilled to be part of that committee. So for people who want to kind of like go on into that part of the meeting about Fields, because that has a lot to do with obviously us on the Board of Ed. So just wanted to make sure that people are aware that there's some things that are happening and that we're going to be seeing a lot of each other.
So Tim, I wanted to also mention that meeting for the town council, RTM and Board of Ed, where we talk about the budget, there was already scheduled on that same date, that liaison group meeting, which is town council, city council. So Joyce was asking me, should we go in and cancel that first liaison meeting and just have the budget meeting?
I think so. Okay. And we usually don't have the RTM, but in the past couple of years, we've added the RTM.
I think it's helpful for everybody to be in on it from the beginning, and if they have questions early on, we can answer them and
so we understand
where they're coming from. So,
okay. Anything else?
I have one thing, and
Yes.
it has nothing to do with our meeting tonight, but I'd like to remind everybody that our ecumenical service for the Martin Luther King Scholarship is this coming Sunday at 3 o'clock via Zoom, and you can access it through the Dr. Martin Luther King website. And we have 5 honorees, 5 recipients of each receiving $20,000 in scholarships, and they are Deja Driscoll, Tristan Cletus, Zoe Costello, Zay Quito, and Fatima Mansur. And we would be thrilled for you to join us in honoring them and Dr. King.
Could you tell us the time again?
3 o'clock on this coming Sunday, and you can access it through our website.
We'll
And
be
I
there.
sent everybody an email too with the Zoom link on it up for you
Yes.
and the admin. So
I was very pleased to receive that today and to see that you were holding it virtually. I was like debating, do I want to walk in? So then I got down to the virtual part, and we've known Annalise since she was a baby. So I'll be very happy to see her give the keynote address.
Oh,
that's
thank you
great.
for mentioning that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going.
Good. Is it
Andrea.
time?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye.
You need a
Aye.
second, honey. You need a second
I got
first.
a second. All right.
Thank you
Great.
all.
Bye, guys.
Stay well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay well.